There are moments in the digital revolution when a single development forces us to stop, take a breath, and ask ourselves whether technology is still serving humanity or whether we're crossing a threshold we're not prepared to understand. Today is one of those moments. Meta, aka Facebook Instagram, has secured a patent for an AI system designed to continue posting, interacting, and communicating on behalf of a user after they died. Not a memorial page, not a static archive, an artificially living, active digital presence that behaves as if the person never died. This isn't a sci fi pitch. This is real. It's a legally protected concept from one of the world's most powerful technology companies, and it raises questions that cut to the core of identity, grief, consent, and what it means to be remembered in a world where our data never truly disappears. Tonight, we're going to unpack what this patent actually proposes, why it matters, and what it tells us about the direction that big tech is steering our digital future. Because if AI can speak for us after we're gone, then we need to decide right now who gets to shape our legacy. The first thing we need to understand is that this patent isn't about simple automation. It describes an AI system trained on a person's entire digital footprint, their posts, their messages, voice recordings, photos, videos, and behavioral patterns. And this creates a dynamic model that's capable of interacting with others in real time. Imagine receiving a birthday message from someone who passed away years ago, written in their tone, referencing memories, only the two that you shared. Imagine an AI version of a loved one responding to your post, commenting on your life, your updates, or even appearing in a video call using a synthesized version of their voice and likeliness. That level of fidelity this patent envisions. And while Meta says that it has no current plans to deploy this technology, the very act of patenting it signals intent, the intent to own the space, to shape the rules, and to position itself at the center of a future where digital immortality becomes a commercial product. Whether this is framed as a tool for comfort, continuity, or creator engagement, this is really enormous what we're talking about because you're going to be normalizing AI driven personas that will blur the line between memory and simulation, between honoring someone's life and extending it artificially. This technology is something that we have to talk about. Now, I'd like to talk about StreamYard. And if you've been listening to this podcast series and watching my live streams, webinars, or any other video content that this series produces, you already know that I'm a huge believer in tools that make digital communications simple, professional, and reliable. And that's exactly why I use StreamYard and their advanced plan for everything I do: audio, video, live streaming, and on-air webinar series. StreamYard gives you a studio quality experience right in your browser. No downloads, no complicated setup, just clean, powerful production tools that let you focus on delivering your message. And with the advanced plan, I get multi-streaming to multi-platforms, custom branding, local recordings, and the kind of stability you need when you're broadcasting to a global audience. It's the backbone of my digital workflow, and it's the reason why my shows look and sound the way they do. If you're ready to elevate your podcast, your live stream, your webinars, or digital events, I highly recommend checking out StreamYard for yourself. Now, the referral link is in this episode's description, so take a look, explore the features, save a little bit of money, and see why so many creators and professionals trust StreamYard to power their content. And now let's get back into this topic. So what does the patent actually describe? To understand the magnitude of this development, we need to look directly at what Meta's patent lays out. This isn't a simple memorial type of feature or a passive archive of someone's past post. The patent describes an AI-driven system capable of generating new content, new interactions, and new communications on behalf of a deceased user. It will analyze everything a person has ever shared on the platform: their writing style, their humor, their emotional patterns, their voice recordings, their photos, their videos, even the timing and rhythm of their online behavior. All this becomes training data for a digital replica designed to behave as if the person was still alive. The system goes far beyond text. According to the patent, this AI could generate audio messages using a cloned version of the user's voice. It could appear in a video call using sensitized likeliness, and it could respond to comments and send birthday wishes or continue conversations that were never finished. In other words, it's not just preserving a digital footprint, it's animating it. It's turning static memories into an active, ongoing presence that continues to evolve after the person is gone. And what makes this especially significant is the intent behind the patent. Meta isn't just protecting a theoretical idea. They're positioning themselves to own the infrastructure for digital resurrection. The ability to recreate a person's online identity with a level of fidelity that blurs the line between simulation and survival. Even if Meta says it has no immediate plans to deploy this technology, the patent signals a future where digital personas may outlive their creators, continuing to participate in the social ecosystem long after the human being has passed away. So, why Meta says this matters? When Meta defends the idea behind this patent, they frame it as a natural evolution of digital connection. Their argument is simple: our online presence has become an extension of our identity, our relationships, and our daily communication. When someone disappears from that ecosystem, be it temporarily or permanently, it creates a gap. Meta suggests that AI could fill that gap, maintaining continuity for the people who relied on that presence. In their view, this isn't about replacing a person, it's about preserving the emotional and social threads that connect communities. Meta also points to practical use cases. Think about creators, influencers, or public figures whose audiences expect consistent engagement. The patent hints at scenarios where an AI driven persona could maintain activity during long absence, if you're ill or you're on a sabbatical, or even after death, ensuring that the brand remains alive. It's a continuation of the same logic behind scheduled posts and automated messaging, just taken a little far more in advance to a controversial level. In a world where attention is currency, Meta sees this as a way to keep the machine running. But there's another layer here, one that Meta doesn't see out loud, but the patent makes clear. This technology positions Meta as a steward of digital legacy. If your memories, your voice, your writing style, and your personality can be an algorithm and it can be reconstructed, then the platform becomes the gatekeeper of your identity long after you're gone. That's a powerful position for any company to hold. And it raises a question: is this about connection or is this about control? Is this about honoring the past or securing the future of Meta's ecosystem? Now, let's talk about the practicality. Could this actually work? When we talk about the practicality of Meta's patent, we're not dealing with distant theoretical technology. The truth is that most of the building blocks already exist, and they're improving at a pace that makes this concept far more realistic than many people want to admit. Large language models can already mimic writing styles with uncanny accuracy. Voice cloning tools can replicate a person's voice, their cadence, and their emotional inflection from just a few minutes of audio. And deepfake video systems can generate convincing facial expressions and lip sync speech. Combine these capabilities with the massive amount of personal data Meta holds, and the technological foundation for this digital ghost is already here. The biggest question isn't whether the technology can work, it's how well it can work for different people. Some users have years of posts, messages, photos, videos, voice recordings. For them, an AI reconstruction could be remarkably convincing because the system has a deep well of behavioral data to learn from. But others that have sparse digital footprint and they post infrequently and they don't share much, or they really avoid social media altogether, For those individuals, the AI would be forced to fill in the gaps, making assumptions that may or may not reflect who they truly were. And that raises a critical issue. The less data you leave behind, the more AI becomes fictionalized and creates a fictionalized version of you rather than an authentic extension of you. There's also another question related to context. Human communication is shaped by nuance, by timing, mood, relationships, and lived experiences. An AI can replicate patterns, but it can't replicate consciousness. It can't know what a person would have learned, would have felt, or believed year after years after their death. So while the AI might sound like a person, it can never be the person. It becomes a snapshot frozen in time, interacting with a world that continues to evolve around it and without them. That gap in simulation and reality is where the practical limitations become most visible. And yet, even with these limitations, the technology is close enough to function that idea cannot be dismissed. If Meta or any major platform, if they choose to pursue this, they can deliver a version of digital immortality that is technologically impressive, emotionally powerful, and ethically fraught. The practicality isn't the barrier. The barrier is whether society is ready for the consequences of a world where our digital selves can outlive our physical selves. Let's talk about ethical and societal implications. When we step into the ethical territory of AI driven digital resurrection, we're no longer talking about engineering challenges or platform features. We're talking about the human experience, grief, memory, identity, and the boundaries of consent. This is where the conversation becomes far more than a technical debate. It becomes a cultural reckoning. Because if an AI can continue speaking in your voice after you're gone, the first question we must ask is who gave it permission? Did the user explicitly opt in? Did the family approve? And what happens when those two answers conflict? Consent becomes a moving target, and the stakes are deeply personal. There's also a psychological dimension. For some people, interacting with an AI version of a deceased loved one might offer comfort, a way to revisit memories or to ease a transition through grief. But for others, it could prolong the pain, blur the acceptance of loss, or create an unhealthy dependency on a simulation that can never truly reciprocate. Imagine someone receiving messages from a digital ghost without realizing that it's AI. Imagine the emotional confusion, the sense of betrayal, or the shock of when the truth really comes out. These are not hypothetical scenarios. They are foreseeable outcomes of deploying technology that imitates human presence with high fidelity. Then, if we have a darker possibilities, it could be used to exploit, misuse. If the digital persona can be animated after death, who controls it? Could it be used to endorse products, influence opinions, or maintain a social presence that benefits a company more than an individual it represents? Can it be hacked, spoofed, weaponized? The idea of impersonalization takes on a new whole level of seriousness. And with impersonation, it's legally sanctioned and the algorithm powers it. Once it is monetized, once that enters the picture, the ethical lines between what is right and what is wrong become harder to draw. Finally, we must acknowledge that the cultural and spiritual side of this. Across the world, societies have longstanding rituals around death, remembrance, and closure. The finality of death is a cornerstone of how we process life. AI resurrection challenges that fidelity. It introduces a new kind of presence, not living, not dead, but digitally persistent. For some cultures, this may feel like a violation. For others, it may feel like an evolution. But either way, it forces us to rethink what it means to leave a legacy in a world where our data can be reanimated indefinitely. Now, let's talk about regulatory and also legal questions. When we move into the regulatory and legal landscape surrounding AI driven digital resurrection, we enter territory where the law is far behind the technology. Most countries have no clear framework for who controls a person's digital identity after death. Some platforms offer memorial settings or legacy contacts, but these policies were designed for static accounts, not designed for AI systems that are capable of generating new content, generating new conversations, and generating new representations of a deceased individual. The moment an AI begins speaking in someone's voice after they're gone, we're dealing with a fundamentally different category of a digital asset, one that existing laws simply weren't built to handle. One of the biggest questions is ownership. Who legally owns the data? And also, too, if that individual, their estate or their platform that collected it, and once all the AI is active, who owns that output? The new posts, the new messages, the new interactions that are all generated by the system. These aren't abstract questions. They determine whether a family can shut down the AI persona, whether a company can continue operating it, and whether the digital likeness of a deceased person can be used commercially without clear legal boundaries for potential conflict to be exploited. This is enormous. And there's the issue of consent. In most jurisdictions, consent ends at death unless really extended through a will or a digital legacy directive. But AI complicates this. If a person never opted in, can a family member authorize the creation of a digital replica? What if the family wants it, but the individual would have not? And what happens when AI begins interacting with people who don't know they're communicating with a simulation? Regulations will need to be defined, not just who can authorize these systems, but how transparency must be handled to protect the public. Finally, we have the broader question of whether governments should regulate AI-driven digital personas at all. And if so, how aggressively? Should there be limits on how long an AI can operate after a person's death? Should there be restrictions on commercial usage? Should platforms be required to label AI-generated interactions clearly? These are foundational questions that will shape the future of a digital identity. And right now, the technology is advancing faster than legal frameworks designed to protect individuals, families, and societies. So let's talk about industry trends. Meta is not alone. When we look beyond Meta, it becomes clear that this patent isn't an isolated idea. It's part of a rapidly growing industry trend. Around the world, startups, research labs, and major tech companies are exploring ways to preserve, simulate, or extend human presence through artificial intelligence. Some companies already offer grief bots. These are interactive chat systems trained on a loved one's messages. Others are developing full-body avatars capable of holding conversations, telling stories, or recreating memories. What Meta has patented is simply a more advanced, more integrated version of a movement that's already underway. And we're also seeing this trend emerge in entertainment and media. AI-generated performances from deceased actors, musicians, and public figures are becoming more common. Digital doubles are being used to finish films, recreate voices, or even produce new content long after the original artist has passed. These technologies raise many of the same questions. Who controls the likeness? Who profits from it? And how do we distinguish between honoring a legacy and exploiting it? The entertainment industry is essentially a testing ground for the ethical dilemmas that will soon reach everyday users. And at the same time, the broader tech ecosystem is pushing towards hyper-personalized AI companions. Systems designed to learn your preferences, your habits, your communication style, and your worldview. As these systems become more sophisticated, the line between assistant and digital extension of self becomes increasingly blurry. In that context, Meta's patent isn't a leap. It's the next logical step in a world where our digital identities are becoming as complex and expressive as our physical ones. What this tells us is simple. The idea of digital immortality is no longer fringe. It's becoming a competitive frontier. Companies are racing to define what it means to preserve a person's presence in the digital world, and whoever controls that space will shape the future of memory, identity, and legacy. Meta's patent is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a signal that the industry is preparing for a future where our digital selves may continue long after our physical lives have ended. If you ever followed my work, whether it's podcasting, live streaming, or digital content, I produce across many different platforms. I'm always looking for tools that elevate both the quality, efficiency, and one of the most powerful tools in my workflow right now is 11 Labs, specifically their creator plan. The creator plan gives you access to some of the most advanced AI voice technology available today. We're talking natural, expressive, studio grade voice generation that's perfect for narration, promos, training content, and even multilingual delivery. It's fast, it's flexible, and it integrates seamlessly into a modern creator's production pipeline. Whether you're building a brand, promoting or producing educational content, or scaling your digital presence, 11 Labs gives you the ability to sound polished, consistent, and professional every single time. If you're ready to take your audio production to the next level, I highly recommend checking out the 11 Labs Creator Plan for yourself. My referral link to set up your account and save a little money when you pay for a plan, well, that link is in this episode's description. So take a moment to explore the 11 Labs, what it can do for you and your content. The Creator Plan isn't just one of those tools that doesn't just improve your workflow, it transforms it. Create smarter, create faster, create with 11 Labs. And now let's go ahead and close out this episode. Meta's patent, my take. So as we close out tonight's discussion, I want to bring this back to something fundamental. Technology doesn't just shape our tools, it shapes our values. Meta's patent is a reminder that we're entering an era where the boundaries between life, memory, and simulation are becoming increasingly porous. And while the engineering behind this concept is impressive, the outcomes reach far beyond innovation. They touch on the essence of what it means to be human. And we have to ask ourselves, just because we can recreate a person's digital presence, should we? Technology often advances faster than our collective ability to process its consequences. And in this case, the consequences are deeply personal. They affect families, they affect relationships, they impact cultural traditions in some cases, and the way we understand loss too. AI can preserve patterns, but it cannot preserve consciousness. It can echo a voice, but it cannot carry a soul. And if we blur that line too much, we risk confusing simulation with connection. At the same time, we shouldn't ignore the potential benefits. For some, these systems could offer comfort, continuity, or a way to preserve stories and memories that might otherwise fade. But those benefits must be balanced with safeguards: ethical, legal, and emotional. We need transparency. We need consent. We need clear boundaries between ownership and control. And we need to ensure that digital resurrection doesn't become digital exploitation. Ultimately, this moment is a crossroads. The choices we make now will define how the future generations experience identities, legacy, and remembrance in a world where our digital selves may outlive our physical ones. My take is simple. We must approach this technology with curiosity, with caution, and with a deep respect for the human experience. Innovation should enhance our lives, not rewrite the meaning of our deaths. So tonight's conversation isn't the end of this topic, it's the beginning. And as the digital revolution accelerates, we'll continue exploring the technologies that challenge our assumptions, reshape our world, and force us to rethink what it means to be human in the age of AI. I want to thank you for joining in this important conversation. The technologies that are shaping our digital future aren't just technological milestones. They're cultural turning points, and your engagement is what makes these discussions meaningful. Now, if this episode challenged your assumptions or opened your eyes to what's coming next, I really encourage you to share and also leave your thoughts and comments. Also, keep this dialogue going. The digital revolution is accelerating, and together we can navigate it with clarity, responsibility, and purpose. So until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and stay ahead. And I'd like to also say to all the loyal listeners and subscribers across the podcast platforms, thank you for your continued support. You've helped this series grow into a global conversation about technology, innovation, and the future of digital life. Every download, every share, every comment, and every moment you spend with the Digital Revolution with Jim Kunkle podcast, it means more to me than you know. This is a community, and it's built on your energy, your insight, and your commitment to staying ahead of the curve. We're just getting started. The next wave of digital transformation is already unfolding, and together we're going to keep exploring it, one episode at a time. So until next time, I'll say again, stay curious, stay informed, and keep leading your own digital revolution.